Wow, very pleased to be joined by Bob Gallant. He has written a book called Rob the Vatican. I am so intrigued by this man, by this book, and by the idea of robbing the Vatican. Bob, that title is awesome, and I know your characters just really come to life in this. So you are the one guy we spoke off camera, and for people listening to us as well, about the Vatican, and you did a lot of research on this, and you truly feel like you know how to rob the Vatican, don't you?
Yes, I felt I could not write a novel and say, well, I don't really know how to rob it, but I pretended in the book. I wanted to know that I could actually rob the Vatican. So I spent 5 years researching the Vatican.
And in those 5 years, and this is kind of a hard question, I guess, but that's a lot of time to research. What was the most fascinating piece of information that you found out about robbing the Vatican?
I think it was the fact that they have such a procedure there at the Vatican that everybody adheres to, and each group has its responsibilities, and they kind of battle a little bit with each other. And so that can work to the advantage of the jewel thief, because you can work them against each other. And that was very interesting. And it was just amazing the amount of protocol that they have. And some things that are, you say, well, people were doing this 20 years ago. You're still doing it. So they have some things that they are way out on the leading edge, and other things that they're kind of, gee, you say, you really should change that. In fact, I had a feeling that I should send the book to their security people with a list of, here's some things that would help you not get robbed.
What was it that intrigued you about the Vatican, and how did you decide to tackle this for your novel?
I asked myself, what would be the most amazing robbery in history? And I came to the conclusion it'd have to be rob the Vatican. That is the most best known piece of property in Europe, probably in fact the whole world. It is the headquarters of a major religion, and it has more treasures than anywhere else. It has lots of, this is the only one that exists. They have paintings that are indescribable in their value, and they have gold bullion sitting there. They have jewelry of every type. It was just, I said to myself, oh, and it's impossible to rob because it's this big walled fortress guarded all the time, only a few gates that you can get in and out of. Well, I had spent 40 years in the technology area, and over we would say, wow, you know, if we could do this, we could be out front in this area. And everybody looked and said, but it's impossible to do. And then we would go to work on, oh yeah, it is possible to do almost anything if you know enough, and if you have the right people. So I'd done that my whole career, and I said, oh, what an opportunity. I'm going to be the first person to ever successfully rob the Vatican. So it was a tremendous challenge, and I spent 5 years, and I still remember the day that I was sitting reading another of the hundreds of books that I had read on the Vatican, and I was turned and started a chapter, and I was reading away, and I said, oh, really? They do this in the Vatican? Aha! And suddenly it became well, if they do this, then why can't I do, and then this, and this, and this, and this, I now know how to rob the Vatican. And it was just, it was fascinating.
So we're speaking with Bob Gallant. Rob the Vatican is his novel. When you pulled this all together, how did you flush out the characters?
Again, when you're trying to do the impossible, you say, who are the people that would be the best to be able to do this? So I immediately said, well, I got to have a jewel thief, and he can't just be a normal jewel thief. He's an American jewel thief that has been robbing wealthy chateaus and jewelry establishments all over Europe. And the thing he does is, no matter what kind of security system they have, he's able to figure out how to get around it. And he does everything to perfection, and then he just disappears on you. And you're saying, he's gone. How'd he get away? So I said, okay, that's him. Now he's got to go do the thing. And okay, there's got to be a European inspector who had been trying to run him down for years. I mean, I'm going to catch this guy, and we're going to finally get him. So he's got to be involved. And then I put a woman in it, and I remembered what my wife had taught me, which was during the 5 years that I was writing this book or working on Rob the Vatican, I was writing some other books too. And when I finally finished the first one where I said, okay, this is now ready to be published, I think, I asked my wife, Margie, who was a big reader of women's mystery novels, and I said, would you read this through and critique for me? So she came walking back in afterwards, and she said, if you are going to have a woman who is important in this story, she cannot be dependent upon some manly hero. She must have the capabilities to significantly affect the story. So she must be able to do that. And I said, okay. I said, I think I'm going to be starting over. And then she told me, she said, and it is a painter, he paints pictures with a brush. A writer paints pictures with words. And your words need to give the reader the ability to see exactly what the character sees and where they are, what's going on, and what they're thinking of. That reader needs to be able to walk side by side with them. And I thought about that, and I said, okay, that's right. I tend to speed things because I want to get back to the action. But I've done all this research on every book I do. I do a tremendous amount of research. I said, if they're walking side by side, then they'll learn everything that I learned from all that research. So I ripped up the one I had, spent about 4 months creating a woman that I said, okay, she is perfect for this story, and she will be the dominating factor in it. And as soon as I started rewriting it, I said, oh, this is so much better than what I wrote before. This is just worlds better. And then I would put the other activity into it. And so when I had that one published and it was critiqued, this really tough company on critiquing that I asked them to give me a critique, they said, a spectacular female protagonist. And I said, bravo, I got that one. And then another one said, boy, you just know everything about the swamp. I've never been in a swamp in my life, and now I can visualize everything about the swamp. It's beautifully done. So I said, okay, I'm putting these to work. And I concluded if somebody reads Rob the Vatican and they say, there's real good woman in it, and the description is so good, I'm going to ask them, would you please look up toward heaven and say, Margie, thank you so much for turning him into a better writer.
Thank goodness for Margie, because I would say that was amazing advice that she gave you, and that
Yes.
you took that advice and then you went back and reworked the manuscript, and now you have this fabulous, fabulous book. We only have a minute or so left, Bob, and again, Bob Gallant's book is Rob the Vatican. Pick it up wherever great books are sold, of course, Amazon, etc., Barnes and Noble. And you kind of mentioned it there, but what are you really hope people take away from your novel?
One, they feel, well, I never got to visit the Vatican, but I got a better tour in this book than people who are going over there and paying for a tour. And I want them to feel, boy, this has a lot of morality to it too, because here are people who are having to say, am I willing to pay the price to do the right thing? And that's a fundamental part of this, that people face that decision. I could die doing the right thing. Am I ready to pay that price? So I think it has a strong morality theme to it also. And even facing the problem of, is it right to do a wrong thing in order to prevent a worse wrong? And so those are two of the issues that they face.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with the book. And again, Bob Gallant, Rob the Vatican, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kate.